everyone. Welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show. We give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus a little bit of insight into what it all means. Joining us, as always, is AMC Movie News Editor-in-Chief, John Campea.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the show, coming to you live from the Stream.tv studios here in Hollywood, California. We are so glad you decided to make us a part of your day.
Also here, AMC Movie News Editor, Amy Rose Eisenbach.
Hey guys, I solidified my best auntie status yesterday by exposing my 5-year-old nephew to Star Wars for the first time. And no, it was not the prequels.
Well done.
Oh, yeah.
Also at the table, writer-director John Schnepp.
Hey, what's going on, guys? What's up?
Good shirt.
Nice shirt.
Yeah, I'm just feeling a little grumpy today. I don't know why.
The upcoming Amazing Spider-Man 2 hits AMC theaters everywhere on May 2nd, and director Marc Webb is speaking in pretty grand terms about his new film. In a recent interview with Total Film magazine, Webb said the following: "We're pushing the levels of effects, the levels of action, and the emotional capacity of this kid. It's an aggressive step forward. We throw around the term operatic because of the spectacle and the theater involved, which is pretty epic. There are enormous sets and great set pieces, but really it's a very intimate song. This relationship between Peter and Gwen is very delicate and beautiful." John, what do you make of Webb's comments?
I love them. Now, of course, take anything Marc Webb says with a grain of salt. When a director is talking about his own movie coming out, yeah, watching it in the editing bay, I feel like I could have done better. No, I mean, obviously he's going to tell, but it is really encouraging. You're hearing him say things like, you know, we've upped the ante, basically, on the epicness of it, of the action, the effects. But it kind of confirms everything we've kind of felt from watching the teasers we've seen so far, because the teasers for this film are insane. And I'll reiterate this. When I was back up in Canada over Christmas, one lazy afternoon, we decided, we turned on the TV and The Amazing Spider-Man was on with Andrew Garfield. I still don't get where anybody doesn't like this film. I don't get it. I mean, all films subjective, more power to you if you didn't. Absolutely. I'm just saying, it's a really good movie, minus that absolutely god-awful swinging across the cranes across New York City scene. That was terrible. But other than that, the action was great. The effects were wonderful. The acting was wonderful. I'm really looking forward to this. And hearing a director, even though you have to take it with a grain of salt that he is the director of the film talking about it, but still, hearing him exude that kind of confidence is nothing but a good thing. So I'm very excited. Amy Rose, what about you?
Yeah, very poetic comments from Webb.
Yes.
I mean, I really like the way he structured that, and I think he's a really good director. I mean, I feel like most of the criticism about the first film was that it didn't feel very different from Raimi's films. It was still origin, it was still introducing all of this. I do think it was a really solid film, but I feel like that's mostly the criticism surrounding it, is that it didn't really bring us anything new. Well, now we know the plans for this universe. It's going to be much more villain heavy. It's going to lead this way. You know, we already have Gwen Stacy, which we didn't have. I mean, we have a lot going on, and I'm really happy that they're going to continue that storyline and development between those two characters, because that's you know, I'm not going to spoil what happens, but I'm glad that they're going that way. I'm still glad they pushed Mary Jane to the other film, but she needs to be in it, and I really like his comments. You're right, we take it with a grain of salt. I mean, what actor or director is going to not talk about how epic and amazing this film's going to be? But it does look like it's really raised the bar in terms of everything he's talked about, just from the promotional materials and trailers we have seen. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I hope he does continue the story in a way we haven't seen before.
And I like that you brought up the whole Gwen Stacy thing, because we know that is the reason they pushed Mary Jane out of the film, because they really wanted the emphasis and everything to be on the relationship between Peter and Gwen. Great call. I'm really happy to hear that. Anyway, Schnepp, how do you see this?
I was going to say, Spider-Man 3, let's face it, you just hit the jackpot, Tiger.
Yeah, that's coming.
That's happening, because he's going to need that, because anyone who's read The Amazing Spider-Man, these are not spoilers, what happens to Gwen Stacy. Do your homework. That's probably what's going to happen in this movie.
Oh, it's going to
happen. Oh, yeah.
Everything's leading up to that, and that's going to be a big bummer, and that's why Mary Jane needs to be in the third film.
Exactly.
And I like the way he's talking about it being operatic. Granted, he's the director, but at the same time, I think The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is going to make The Amazing Spider-Man a better film.
Yeah.
Simply because they're building upon the bases that they made Peter Parker's dad part of Oscorp. They made all of the origins tie in. So Granted, it's different from the comic books, but I think it's, as far as for a new movie trilogy or quadrilogy or how many of these they're going to make, hopefully 12 of them, it's great and amazing for me. I'm very excited about it.
All right, what's next?
The upcoming film Divergent hits AMC theaters everywhere on March 21st, but that isn't stopping the studio from moving ahead with plans for the sequel, Insurgent. They've just taken a big step forward by hiring Academy Award-winning screenwriter Akiva Goldsman, who won his Oscar for A Beautiful Mind, to write the screenplay for Insurgent. No director has been brought on yet. Amy Rose, do you think Goldsman will be a good fit for a film like Insurgent?
I do. I think he's a very, very good fit. Other than A Dangerous Mind, which was fantastic, he's also done Fringe, which is sci-fi, and I, Robot, and A Time to Kill, and he has the characters down like in A Time to Kill, which I thought was a really, really good film. Also, the sci-fi aspect, and I mean, a lot of people might think it's kind of like jumping the gun to hire a writer for the second installment when the first one, we don't know if it's going to be successful or not, but it's just the screenplay right now. They still don't have a director. They still haven't moved forward officially, so I think this is a really good name to throw in the mix, especially since I love what he did with Fringe, the episodes that he did write, so I think that he's definitely a good fit for the sci-fi youth adult kind of thing, to kind of make it more, broad for the audience and not just so niche for the kids.
Right. Schnepp?
Well, I don't want to be a sourpuss, but Batman and Robin, Akiva Goldsman also wrote that. So, he's written a lot of. He won an Oscar, so you can't argue
Actually,
with that.
I think he wrote Batman Forever. I don't think he did Batman and Robin.
Really? Internet kids, get on that to check our stats. But yeah, he wrote one of those.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he wrote Batman and Robin. Hey, everybody has some stinkers.
Yeah.
So. That he got hired to write it before the movie came out, that's great. He's cashing checks. So hopefully the movie's great and it deserves a sequel. I'm not sure because I didn't read the book.
Yeah.
But if it's in that, Battle Royale, Hunger Games style flavor, I don't know. Maybe it'll be a fun film. So.
I like the juxtaposition here because when you think about a film like Divergent and the target audience it's going after, you don't instantly think of, let's get the writer of A Beautiful Mind.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think that. But I totally believe it is never a mistake to recruit talent. This guy is a talented writer. And after we had our little thing, I just brought up his IMDb page, and it is Batman Forever.
Okay.
But he also wrote films like
better.
Cinderella Man,
Yeah.
which I thought was a hugely underrated film. I thought
was good.
Cinderella Man was just a brilliant film. I love what he did with that.
Hero, I Am Legend. Some
I Am
people
Legend,
loved,
so he
some
does.
didn't.
He did I, Robot
Yeah.
too. So you can see he's got his foot in that. He can write the heavily dramatic. He writes the sci-fi actiony kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So not only is it a neat juxtaposition, but it's also, I think, a pretty good fit. So, whenever you add somebody like an Academy Award-winning writer, that's never a bad thing. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you brought up the fact that this isn't jumping the gun. It's not like they're saying they're going to go into production on Insurgent before they see the results of this, but they want to be ready. And that's what you need to do. Make sure you are ready. This is a really good move on their part, so this is good news all the way around. All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show called Buy and Sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Ashley's got a few other items of movie news, and she's going to run them down. And then Schnepp, Amy Rose, and I are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Ashley, what do we got?
Actress Elizabeth Banks is set to add another title to her name, director. It's being reported that Banks will make her directorial debut with the upcoming Pitch Perfect 2. Banks appeared in and produced the first Pitch Perfect, which took in over $113 million at the box office on a modest $17 million budget. Jeanette, buy or sell Elizabeth Banks directing Pitch Perfect 2?
I totally buy it. I love Elizabeth Banks. I think she's a great actress. She's super talented, can play very, very different kinds of roles, especially in the Hunger Games. I love her character in that. And for her to direct Pitch Perfect, I didn't see Pitch Perfect in the theater. I was like, I don't want to see that Glee style movie. And then all you guys were like, you got to see it. It's fun.
Yeah.
Finally saw it, and I loved it. It was really fun. So I was wrong. It's a really fun film. So that's going to make me want to see Pitch Perfect 2, and I'm happy that she's directing it. So give her a shot. I bet she'll nail it.
Amy?
Enthusiastic buy. I love Elizabeth Banks, and it's an embarrassing level how many times I've seen Pitch Perfect. I can literally quote it from beginning to end. Like, I love it. It's so clever, and it's not just a chick flick like it was kind of marketed that way. It's very witty. It's so, excuse me? It's so good. And Elizabeth Banks is so clever and so talented and just such a wonderful human being. And I think that she's going to have a really good eye for this. I mean, so many actors turn directors, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I think she's going to hit it. And the fact that she was so passionate, she helped bring Pitch Perfect to fruition in the first place. And Gail, her little performance in the first one, I hope we have a bigger part in it because I loved it.
Fat Amy and everyone else.
They have to.
The Anna Kendrick and all that.
Right.
You know, I was initially going to sell this. For a couple reasons. Number one, it's a pretty named property. I don't know if that's the right venue for making your first directorial effort. Plus, it's a musical, and it's not a proper musical, but in many ways it's a musical. That can be challenging. But then I sat back and I thought about this. The first one only cost $17 million to make. I mean, really, this is the type of film you do want to make. And it's a property she's familiar with. She produced and was in the first one. This is actually a really good starting point. You know, sometimes we talk about first-time directors, you know, being, you know, saddled with a $150 million budget film. First one made over $113 million at the box office on a little $17 million budget. They'll probably up the budget a bit for this one to maybe about 25 or 30. But still, I think that's in the acceptable range for somebody to cut their teeth. Property she's familiar with, not a huge budget attached to it. Yeah, for me, it's a buy. All right, what's next?
Fast and Furious 3, 4, 5, and 6 director Justin Lin has joined up with Fox Studios to produce and possibly direct the upcoming project Toymageddon. The project is described like this: a live-action family adventure movie in the vein of Jurassic Park and Ghostbusters. The lid on the plot details is being kept tightly shut, but it is known to center around a toy factory that runs amok. John, buy or sell Lin being attached to Toymageddon?
I really like Justin Lin, and I'm really looking forward to what he's doing in the future. And I have no problem at all with the guy who's done one type of film to go and try to do a family film. No problem at all. I don't like the sounds of Toymageddon. I feel like we've seen this before. Like, wasn't this Toy Soldiers? Or wasn't this a number of other things about toys coming to life? I mean, so while I like him spreading his wings creatively, I don't know that I'd go for this one in particular. I'll be very curious to see the first couple of trailers and pieces of concept art, but for now, for me, it's a sell. Amy Rose?
I definitely stand on the same, you know, I agree exactly with what you said. I'm glad that Justin Lin is branching out because he is a very talented director. And
great eye.
I feel like, he has a very good eye. And I mean, Ghostbusters with Jurassic Park, that part sounds awesome, but the actual toys coming to life, I'm also kind of on the fence. I will buy it for now because I think he deserves to try something different. But I will agree that the premise, those two titles, of course, get me, but the toys aspect kind of loses me a little bit.
I should point out, Mikey on the chat board has corrected me because I said that the movie reminded me of Toy Soldier. The actual name of the movie is Small Soldiers. So thank you. That's why we have That's why we have the Sons of AMC out there
and,
to keep us honest and correct us when I say stupid things.
And Toy Story. I mean,
there we go. Sorry, snap.
The unibrain has worked. Success,
the collective.
Mind. Yeah. I'm gonna very hesitantly buy it. But I'm just going to suggest a title change, Toypocalypse.
Yeah, I'm into that.
I like that.
Because Toymageddon just sounds corny to me, but like, you know.
But no corniness to
Toypocalypse. Toys are going to be messing people up. So,
yes.
You know, so hey, good luck, Justin Lin, making little creatures that come to life, you know.
All right, what's next?
Yesterday, Empire magazine released the special covers for its upcoming issue. The new issue has not one, not two, not three, but 25 different covers, each with characters from the upcoming XMen Days of Future Past.
What's that?
Among the covers is one for Anna Paquin as the character Rogue. A while ago, director Bryan Singer announced that Rogue was cut out of the new movie, but this cover raised questions if she's put back in. A tweet from Empire magazine said the following: for those asking if our Rogue cover means Rogue is in the movie, a definitive statement from Bryan Singer and Simon Kinberg is in the issue. Amy Rose, buy or sell that Anna Paquin as Rogue is back in the movie?
I sell that she's back. I still don't think she's back. I mean, it's very clever on the fact, moderation, 25 covers, 25. My goodness. But I mean, it's very clever on behalf of Empire. It's like, you want to find out, read our magazine, plug, like, of course they're gonna not reveal it that way. But I mean, Bryan Singer even stated in a very definitive manner, Just because you might see her in promotional materials doesn't mean she's in. There was one sequence that Rogue was in, and unfortunately we had to cut it to just make the film feel more cohesive. And he even said she might be seen in marketing materials. So I'm pretty sure that this just gets us excited. Of course, we wish we would see Rogue, but if it doesn't work in the framework of all this madness and excitement that's happening for Days of Future Past, then I'm gonna trust Singer and not think she's coming back still.
I'm gonna buy
Really?
that she's back, and here's why. Because on the one hand, I want to say sell because they've probably did this photo shoot a long time ago and things like that. But the more I thought about it, there's been a long time between when Bryan Singer said she was cut and this. It would have been very easy to replace her on the cover with another character with the amount of time that we're talking about. They had lots of time. The other thing was, my initial gut reaction is that if she was not going to be in the film, we probably would have seen a tweet or something from Anna Paquin at some point just saying, don't get excited, I'm not in the movie, I'll be in the DVD or something like that. And that didn't happen. And the fact that Empire, although it is, you're probably right, some kind of cheesy marketing scheme by Empire to sneak people to buy a few more copies of their magazine. But for them to go, hey, Bryan Singer's going to make a definitive statement in the article. To me, that sounds, and they're probably purposefully making it sound like that, so I'm probably being tricked. But to me, it does sound like I got a feeling she's in it. We'll see. I'm probably wrong, but I got a feeling she's there. Shep?
Yeah, I'm going to buy and sell it. What? Can I do that? I'm just going to buy it because all the covers are really fun to look at. There's no way Empire's ever going to get me to buy 25 magazines. That's a money grab. Any weird, sweaty collectors who are going to get that, good luck. That's like spending like $150.
Right.
Just to get the same magazine with a different cover and then look through it. What are you going to do with that?
How much is Empire?
It's like $10.
Probably, maybe
$9.99 or something. It's super expensive.
And it's a monthly magazine. It's a great magazine.
It's an incredible
I love
magazine.
that magazine.
Yeah.
I kind of want to own all 25. I'm not gonna lie.
It does bring this question up, though. With the 25, first of all, I don't find any of the pictures very inspiring.
You don't like the Toad one?
Now that brings up, but I don't really hate any of them
Right.
except 3 in particular are getting the most criticism online.
Sentinels.
The future Sentinel,
Future Sentinel.
Toad,
Right.
Yeah.
and Quicksilver.
Yes.
That's
Let me
about
just
right.
get this
so.
part
Yeah.
out of the way.
I agree.
Quicksilver looks absolutely ridiculous.
Yep.
Horrible.
Yep.
Just he looks like the rejected 18th member of who sang "Up All Night to Get Lucky." What's
Daft Punk.
Yeah, he looks like a
Don't you
rejected member of
diss
Daft Punk.
my Daft Punk.
I'm not dissing Daft Punk.
Okay, good. Making sure.
He looks like the Dazzler's brother.
Yeah, he looks terrible. Toad looks
Embarrassing.
awful. It's embarrassing how he looks. Now, keep in mind, just because they look terrible doesn't mean they're not going to be great characters in the movie.
Yeah.
But I'm going to stand with the solid minority on this. I kind of dig the future Sentinel look. To me, there's something very ominous and otherworldly about it.
Yeah.
That I looked at it at first and went, I'm oddly drawn to it. So I'm going to actually like that one. But anyway, what do you guys think about that 3? And were any of the other ones really stand out to you?
Yeah, you want to go?
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I just saw the Future Sentinel this morning with a whole bunch of hatred attached to it.
A lot of hatred.
And I was looking at it, I was like, I feel the same way. It's not that bad. They already nailed the modern Sentinel.
I think the modern Sentinel
and
looks
also
great. Yeah.
that air conditioner type thing. That's a hover jet. That's like so
Right.
they can hover around. Somebody explained that, and I was like, oh, then that makes sense.
Kinda
Because at
cool.
first I was
Yeah.
like, it looks a little weird, the air conditioning unit, but as long as they're using it as like how hover jets really work, that sounded cool. The future Sentinel is probably like, nanotechnology, can reform like the Terminator. That's what it looks like to me, that it's going to be. It's in humanoid form, but then can turn into some other kinds of shapes and to kill mutants. So we'll wait and see on that. I got to be honest, like, I know everyone's talking about the Rogue cover, and it's a great cover. She's beautiful. So,
Well, Anna Paquin's stunning.
and she's a great actress. So I was bummed out when I heard she wasn't in the movie. I'm sure there's going to be a second of her in there somewhere. That's how I feel about it. Even though that scene was cut and that will be on the DVD, so she technically is still part of the movie,
Sure,
in general. But some of those other characters, I just feel like really you're going to waste a cover. It's not even wasting cover. Waste all this promotional stuff for Warpath and Blink. Characters who are going to be in the movie for literally 3 seconds. Bishop. I mean, I feel like, at least they're finally getting their moment in the sun for like 4 seconds. They might not even have lines. So don't get too excited about all these mutants because they're really going to focus on the main mutants.
But you bring up a really good point that we should say. I was also a little bummed out to hear that they cut Rogue out. But in reality, if she was going to be in for I think it was one sequence, 2 separate scenes. if she's going to be in that little of the film, then removing her from it really isn't going to change anything.
Yeah.
It would have been fun to see her in there
Right.
because I'm so nostalgic about the original, especially the first 2 X-Men films. But it's really not that big of a deal if all she was going to be in was those couple of scenes anyway. Anyway, Amy Rose, the images on the covers.
My biggest disappointment was Quicksilver. I have been really looking forward to this character, and maybe Whedon will get him right. But,
Whedon will get him right.
But
Whedon
from
will get
what
him
I've
right,
seen, I'm a little disappointed by the direction they're taking. He might be cool once we see, the sped up sequences and all of that, but that was the one. And Bishop, I've been so excited about it. Hopefully, Cable and Deadpool and all these other characters will show up in the next films because I'm still waiting for some of my favorites. But yeah, Quicksilver was my biggest
He's
disappointment.
got the goggles on.
It's so
He's got
bad.
that mini DJ unit
It's so
on his
bad.
Super
belt.
cheesy white grayish hair. It looks totally.
And
fake.
Magneto's always my favorite, so that's kind of, I'm
Yeah,
biased.
the 2 Wolverine covers are cool. The Magneto, the Xavier
Yeah.
covers, a lot of them are great in it. And I like that it goes along through the whole thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know Bryan Singer was a mutant. He's on the covers.
I think his big cover. All right, folks, listen, we've come to the part of the show called Mailbag, but I'm going to let you know, we do leave some time at the end of the show to take live questions from the chat board. So Ashley is monitoring the chat board. If you've got a question you'd like us to address on the show, format it this way. Write question dash and then put in your question, just so Ashley knows it's a question being put in there. But for now, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime, 24/7, at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Now, every single day we take a couple questions out of the mailbag. Ashley's got a few of them pulled out. So, Ashley, what do we got?
Trevor Corbin writes, I watched The Last Stand the other night at your recommendation and was annoyed that some sequences seemed like blatant advertisements for Chevy, which completely took me out of the movie experience. I feel like product placement has gotten worse in recent years, so I was wondering how much is too much and how often do movies rely on this type of funding in order to be made? Thank you.
Well, let's address the thing first about Last Stand. I actually watched that again last night. I went to bed early because I wasn't feeling so good. I popped on Netflix. Oh, look, Last Stand. And I just watched it again. Yes, in Last Stand, it becomes a little obvious they're doing some Chevy promotion. That's obvious. But honestly, for me, and I agree with you, when you realize that, it kind of pulls you out for a second. But I got to admit, to me, and I'm all about the purity of the film-going experience, but I have to admit that even though it pulls me out for a second, I'm right back in. And like, if there was a shot in a movie where the camera's panning and then you see the boom operator holding the mic, they go, oh, and get out, it'll pull me out of the picture.
Right.
It'll pull me out of the movie for a second, but then I'll get right back in and it won't really bother me. TV shows are even worse.
Ugh, the worst.
I'm not gonna say which show it was, but I'm watching this one show, and it was right after Windows 8 got announced, right? Like only a week after. And I swear, every single character in that show that week had a Windows 8 phone with a over-the-shoulder shot looking at,
It's so
I
bad.
need to, oh, don't worry, I'll call Billy. Shot over the shoulder, showing their Windows 8 as they do this. Billy, boom. And they did it like 10 times in the show. That took me out more, but I don't think it is a problem yet. I can see a slippery slope where it could become a problem, but I'm not going to panic about it yet, because right now I don't think it's that bad of a thing yet, but I do think we all as fans need to keep our eye on it and shout at Hollywood our displeasure if it gets too bad.
Right.
And Amy Rose, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you nailed it with the TV. Like, I'm very proud to say that I don't watch any reality TV shows except for mostly the singing competitions because I sing and play guitar, so that's my guilty pleasure. But it's ridiculous. Like, I can think of The Voice where they show like the Kia and then they're driving up in it and then they show like
And
this
talking
part.
to
and
the interactive thing on it.
It's just so over the top.
And the Starbucks. Everything is Starbucks.
Yeah, and I think it actually like takes away because consumers are so much more intelligent than they used to be, and like Trevor was just writing, Chevy took him out of it because it was so blatantly in your face, and I completely agree. I think more seamless like integration is much smarter because it's still there, you still get the brand recognition, subliminal messaging, but it's not like in your face. That does take me out of it as well. Last Stand, I didn't have that high expectations for the plot and this and that, so like I just thought it was a fun time, so that movie didn't really bother me, but in general I completely agree. I hate when they're so nailing it in, we're like, we get it, Chevy's sponsoring it, we get it. Like, my goodness.
I remember one of the worst scenarios of this ever I can't remember which season of it, but I watched a few seasons of 24.
Right.
And in one season in particular, everything was Hewlett-Packard. I mean, everything. When they're walking around their master control thing, every giant monitor with giant HP. When they break into the terrorist's house, of course he's got a big HP computer on the thing. Like it was
product placement right there.
Hey Apple, send me some free stuff.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Where's our free computers?
They'll never ever, support a film because they don't need the money. They already own the world.
They own everything. Anyway,
I'll say this, like Mystery Men did it really good with Captain Amazing. I think that was his name, where you just had products everywhere.
Can I just stop you and say once again my unmitigated, uncompromising love for Mystery Men. It makes me happy that
It's
you
funny because
brought it up.
for a long time I
funny.
didn't like it, and I watched it again like 6 months ago,
It's
and I was
super
like, wow,
odd
you
and
know what?
awesome.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
You know, it's
I
a
love
really
that
fun
movie.
film for some reason. When I first saw it, I didn't like it. But
Yeah, my dad fell down an elevator shaft. Oh, and landed on some bullets. Oh, anyway, sorry. Go ahead. I interrupted you twice. I'm sorry.
It's all right. And Superman, I'll mention that. Like, that had tons of product placement that none of it really bothered me as much as some of the other criticisms that I read. But the one sequence that did take me out of the movie was when Lois Lane came out and put her Canon camera and then crawled into frame, because it literally was like, here's an empty hole for a second. Canon camera with the logo
that's awkward.
dead
Very
center,
prevalent, yeah.
and then her head didn't pop up until like a second later. So it just really felt like it was one of those moments that didn't flow. And in order to do proper product placement and integration, which isn't every single thing that you watch, it's in.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, that's product placement is just they go through. They have people go through the scripts and find out where they can put the products in each scene. That's just how it works. So, I don't think there's anything bad with it. In fact, I kind of like it in reality shows where they're like, and this is sponsored by Blobby or whatever, and they say it, and then you see a little cutaway, you're like, oh, that's Blobby. It's like, because I mean, that's kind of how a reality show works. That's, to me at least, that's how reality shows work. But movies, it doesn't bother me as much when it's integrated well. 'Cause we're
seamless.
all wearing different clothes and they're different kinds of, products are going to be in there, but when, if it cuts away too close to one and
Takes you out of it.
It takes you out.
Yeah.
That's when, that's when that happens. So.
All right, let's. We've got another mailbag question here. So we'll ask one more mailbag question quick, and then we'll get to the live chat board. So what do we got?
Taylor Johnson writes, "Hi AMC Theaters, I am here to propose a crazy theory for Fox and how they can bring Fantastic Four and the X-Men together in the movie universe. What if they made the Fantastic Four mutants and had Professor X try to recruit them to join the X-Men? I know it would make a lot of people mad, but why couldn't it work? Thanks so much."
I've actually heard one rumor, which obviously we didn't report on the show, but we're talking informally here. I heard one rumor that Mr. Fantastic and Ben Grimm are going to be transformed in the traditional Fantastic form. Something's going to happen to them, and they're going to get their abilities. But then they're going to be joined up through a government agency with Sue and Johnny Storm, who will have mutant powers. I mean, that's one of the things I've heard. I think, Shep, you know more about the Fantastic Four than I do at this point. But what do you think about the theory?
And your movie is your favorite.
If you put them together, they're my most favorite hated thing.
Yes, exactly.
I think that theory is interesting. I don't think they're going to go with saying that they're mutants. I think they're probably with Fox owning the X-Men. They're going to maybe say they had latent mutant genes that were activated by maybe the negative zone. But I think all of them.
You think they're going to get the powers together still?
Yeah, I think all of them are going to
way.
be in they're still going to be young kids and they're all hanging out together and they all kind of traditionally get it, not from outer space but inner space, so to speak.
Okay.
That's my guess.
I think that's the way to do it. I mean, look at the outrage that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when they were going to be aliens and then all of that. I feel like if you change the folklore too much, people get really pissed. But if you just kind of adapt it for the screen, like we were saying, certain liberties need to be taken to translate it to the big screen. Sometimes it happens, but if you change it too much, I think that's a really nice way of tiptoeing around it. And we always get these questions about crossovers and dream this and all of that. But in this case, Fox owns the rights to both, so it actually could happen.
Yeah.
So I really hope they take advantage of the fact that they own two of the most amazing properties, and we actually do see a crossover.
Yeah, I think we will at some point.
I hope so.
All right, folks, we got a few minutes left. We're going to take a few minutes here to rapid fire answer some of your questions in the chat board. Ashley is the gatekeeper. She's picking which questions get asked, so be really nice to her.
Yeah, girl.
Anyway, so Ashley, what do we got?
Will Krieger writes, due to the success of the film, do you think we will see a sequel to Gravity?
It doesn't need it.
It absolutely doesn't need it, but I mean, no film needs a sequel. I don't think they will. I think they're going to let this one. I don't even know how you would do it. So it's
gravitas.
Hey, I guarantee you, somewhere in a boardroom at Warner Brothers, the discussion has taken place. Is there a way we could sequelize this? But I don't think it's going to happen.
Island. What island is she on? There's an adventure there.
It becomes a Lost. All of a sudden.
Yeah, how about no gravity?
Oh, what if she gets up after crawling out of the water and she runs into the cast from Lost?
Boom!
Boom! You got it right there.
Anti-gravity, bam!
All right, what's next?
Ronald Donahue writes, "Hello, AMC MT Rocks. Do you think that a horror movie will ever win an Academy Award for Best Picture?"
Possible. It would take a different kind of horror movie.
Yeah.
I think it would take a horror movie that is heavy on the drama and the narrative and stuff like that. Whereas most horror movies, they aren't that because they don't want to be that. They want to be the more visceral. Horror movies are at their best, to me personally, when they're visceral and they really just get you on an emotional level and it gets your blood flowing. That's when I have my most fun with a horror movie.
Right there.
I don't know that I'd be into a horror movie that is also made in such a way that it would gain Academy attention.
It's very niche. I mean, I'm always pro horror movies. I would talk about that all the time because I love that experience. I love the adrenaline. I love seeing it in a live audience, and it's just one of the best times ever. And a lot of horror movies, they're very niche, and it just doesn't appeal to the wide audience as much. I mean, look at all these films that are made for very little money and they still don't make a lot of money. The parodies do, the horror spoofs still make money, but the really niche ones, I mean, I could see it more winning for like Best Original Screenplay, like Cabin in the Woods. I would have loved to see that. That was such a clever, fusion of so many different genres, definitely rooted in horror, and I love that. But yeah, as a Best Picture, I just think that it's very niche, and for the Best Picture wins, it tends to be cinematic achievements or social causes. That tends to be really where the Academy falls. Like look at the films this year: American Hustle, 12 Years a Slave, and Gravity. Those are the three frontrunners that cross off for all three of those. So, I mean, it could happen. I would love horror movies to get more attention, but I don't see it as of now because that's not really their intention.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see horror movies ever needed to be validated by the
Exactly.
Oscar.
I agree.
The Oscar falls into its own categories of validations, as in dramatic, like you said, socio-economic commentaries, political, kind of those. That's where biographies. That's where it kind of falls into. And once in a while, like a fantasy, like Lord of the Rings will win, like 12 years ago. But horror so far, not so much. I think Frederick March won for Jekyll and Hyde back in the 30s. He actually won an Oscar. And we also saw like Heath Ledger won a posthumous Oscar for the Joker, which is all intents and purposes a horror character.
In many ways.
Yeah, definitely.
So certain actors have been nominated and won. I can't think of right now off the top of my head of a movie that got nominated. I was like, did The Exorcist or did Rosemary's
Baby? That's what I was thinking.
If you guys look it up and see what horror movie actually got nominated and didn't win, there's been a few that have been nominated. But honestly, as a horror fan, I don't care if it ever gets nominated for the Oscars because it's in a different realm for me.
Exactly.
I love horror films, and they have horror awards. They have a lot of them nowadays. Every year, there's at least 5 or 6 big festivals that give out horror awards, and that's where I think that's where it should.
We're
stand.
growing.
Yeah.
We're growing.
Okay, let's get through a few more really quick here.
Mike Smith writes, "Would you like to see a Rush Hour 4 movie?"
No, hell no, 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 no.
No.
Guys?
No.
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 I liked Rush Hour 2 very much, by the way. I liked Rush Hour 2
And
very much, but no.
No.
Andrew Johnson writes, "What are your top anticipated movies?"
That's too general, too broad of a
Star
question.
Wars. Yeah, how about that?
Star Wars, Batman, Superman, Avengers 2.
Avengers.
Yeah, so too broad.
Other cool movies.
Kyle Marquise writes, "Flops. If an actor has been in too many flops, how much could that ruin their career?"
Yeah, a lot actually.
I think actors get more flops than like writers and directors. Like a writer or director, if they have like one big $100 million flop, you're like not working for 10 years. But an actor, because they line up a bunch of movies, they could be in a flop, but then get another 4 more chances of big releases.
Do okay and be fine. But you appear in a movie that just does badly, and then all of a sudden you're seeing. Honestly, I think we talked about the new Joe Carnahan film, Stretch. That was supposed to be coming out with Jason Lee?
Patrick Wilson,
and Chris Pine, right? Well, guess what? After the new Jack Ryan film starring Chris Pine didn't do so well, Universal suddenly announces they're not releasing Stretch anymore. sometimes it doesn't even take that many flops in a row.
I
just a
think of
couple.
Taylor Kitsch.
Taylor
He
Kitsch,
starred
yeah.
in
So
John
talented.
Carter
Battleship.
and Battleship, 2 flops. He was just in Lone Survivor. He was fantastic in that. So as a starring role, I feel like he's going to have to build momentum again. But he's a really
And he
talented
will.
actor.
He's very talented.
Yeah,
All right,
but
what's
it's
next?
sad. It does affect it.
Jamie Garcia writes, "Hey guys, what are your favorite bad movies of all time? Thanks and keep up the great work."
No, Schnepp and I, we got the neural link here.
All right.
It is easily Vanilla Ice as cool as ice.
Yeah, cool as ice.
It
If
is-
you've never seen it, you gotta see it.
You know what? Seriously, I would love to rent AMC Burbank Theater one night and get a print of Vanilla Ice Cool as Ice and just have a big Sons of AMC movie watching
and
party.
get Vanilla Ice to show up. In
And
person.
get Vanilla Ice to show up.
Come on, Vanilla.
It is so awful, but so brilliant.
I
at the same
have
time.
a requirement for that. You have to do some breakdancing.
All right, I'll pop and lock. And then one of my all-time favorites is Battle Beyond the Stars. So if we could do a double feature,
Space Cowboy.
get Sybil Danning there. Come on,
All right, 2 more.
Okay.
Space Cowboy.
Cole Hardcastle writes, "Why do you think Toy Story 3 was so similar to Toy Story 2? I feel like they could have done more with the story, but didn't."
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It was phenomenal.
That Toy Story 3 was on another level, not just talking quality-wise, but emotion-wise.
Oh.
Yeah.
They went into some real adult themes actually in Toy Story 3. I can't validate the question
About family being together, death. There was a lot of things
Death,
that happened.
loss,
and,
endings.
If you
just
didn't cry in the last 10 minutes of Toy
Right.
Story 3, I'm convinced you might not
I
have a
saw
soul.
very, very few similarities between the two
Right.
films. to
Oh,
be
I
honest.
loved
An
that
android
movie.
robot asked the question.
Okay, what's next?
A East 94 writes, "With Sony planning on doing a bunch of villain movies, is there a better chance for Marvel doing a Loki standalone movie?"
I don't think they have any plans for a Loki standalone movie, but if Sony puts out Sinister Six and Venom and audiences love them and they make a lot of money, damn, you're damn right that Marvel will be putting the Loki film into development pretty damn quick.
Yeah. Might I suggest
love to
a
watch
Loki standalone little 5-minute short, like how they do all those little shorts? They've
Yeah.
got Ben Kingsley in one.
Yeah.
Why not do Loki for one of them?
Loki to Marvel was definitely Ledger to DC in terms of just how much love and people got behind those performances.
Yeah.
But Loki has the charisma and the playfulness,
Yeah.
and I would just freak out.
As
love
great
him.
as Ledger's Joker is,
Yeah.
maybe the greatest performance in any comic book movie in history, there's more you can do with Loki.
Oh, yeah.
There's more
Much more
There's much
playful.
more stuff you can do there with Loki. Okay, let's take one more and then we'll call it a day.
Okay, Bantha writes, "Will we ever see a remake of Star Wars Episode 4?
A New Hope. I've always said this. Everybody knows Star Wars is my religion. There's no bigger Star Wars fan than me, and I'm okay with the Star Wars remake. I am at some point, because if it sucks, then I still got the original. Near and dear to my heart, doesn't matter. But with now Disney moving forward with the universe, if it ever does happen, I'm telling you, it's 20 years away. Minimum 20 years away.
Did you say Bantha asked the question?
Yes.
That's a great. I didn't even catch that as a
I was
name.
like, did you say Bantha or Bantha?
Bantha.
Yeah. What's up,
Don't
Bantha?
touch it. I don't want you to touch it, personally.
I personally think that they're going to have Pixar redo all the original 6 as animated films.
That's
At
not
some point,
far-fetched
that can
idea.
happen.
Yeah.
I think they're going to do it sooner than later. That's my guess.
I doubt it, but
Right.
it's certainly within the realm of possibility.
In the Clone Wars fashion.
All right, folks, that will do for us. We're all done for the day. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, I want to remind you, lots of great films playing at AMC theaters everywhere right now. Head on over to www.amc Theaters for your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. Listen, if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll keep you up to date on everything going on in the world of movie news, and of course, our daily AMC Movie Talk show, our weekend AMC Mailbag show, and what's that coming later today? The first episode of AMC Versus airs a little bit later today on our AMC channel. Keep your eyes open for that. It's probably launching in just a couple of hours. I want to thank those sitting at the table with me. First of all, our movie news editor here at AMC Movie News, Miss Amy Rose Eisenbach. Amy Rose, where can people find you online?
On Twitter at Amy Rosie. Thanks so much.
The one and the only Mr. John Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you online?
You can find me at Twitter and Instagram at John Schnepp. What's up?
And you've got some massive news about The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, that you're going to be able to share with us pretty soon, aren't you?
Yes, some major news. I just got in like the last literally 68 hours, like 3 things happened, which I can't talk about yet, but I'll be able to in a little bit. So
And our gatekeeper today, the lovely host, Miss Ashley Mova. Ashley, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Ashley Mova. Have a good one, guys.
And you can find me just on the various social media channels at John Campia. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Don't forget, we'll be back again tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. So until next time, my name's John Campia for AMC Movie News, and until then, bye-bye.
If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to AMC Movie News on YouTube. It's free and a great way to stay updated with all the latest movie news, and check out our daily show, AMC Movie Talk. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter to stay in the loop for our special prizes, giveaways, and contests.